Good morning, I'm Paolo del Rosario. Welcome to Industry Beacon, where we shine a light on the trailblazers, the disruptors, and the leaders shaping our future. And in each episode, we'll explore how they are staying ahead in their fields, one industry at a time. Now, this morning, we take a look at urban planning in the Philippines, with a true pillar in the industry. His decades of experience have been instrumental in shaping resilient and sustainable spaces in the country. But with emerging challenges in the field, how can the Philippines respond with adaptive solutions? We're now joined by architect Jun Palafox, the principal architect and urban planner at Palafox Associates, for his insights. Good morning, Sir Jun. Thank you very much for joining us here on Industry Beacon.
Good morning, Paolo, and thanks for the opportunity to share. Good morning.
Sir Jun, let's start off first with a bit of your background. For those who do not know, we are not joking when we're talking about him being a pillar in the industry. Literally around 53 years as an architect, 51 years as an urban planner, of course had stints working in Dubai as well as a senior architect and a planner back when it was still coming up, talking about Dubai. So when we take a look at the Philippines and talk about looking at urban planning, a lot of people look at Metro Manila and the problems there. But reading a lot of your articles about you and your optimism for the Philippines in the future, you feel that by 2050, that the Philippines could actually be very first world in so many ways. You take a look at that type of prospect, sir. Why are you so optimistic when it comes to the Philippines and with urban planning being a big part of it?
Yeah, thank you. My background, I took up architecture at UST. Then I was a UNDP, United Nations Scholar of University of the Philippines. Then I took up 8 courses in Harvard over 8 years. I guest lectured in Harvard before I became a student. And we've done work in 40 countries. And I've lectured in 23 countries. And 1976, if we look back, I was team leader for the World Bank funded Metro Plan Manila. And we said that time, our team said that time, with a do-nothing scenario, we'll have catastrophic traffic, flooding, not prepared for disasters, lack of decent housing, and etc. So we said that when I was 26 years old. I'll be 75 years old in March, and already helped 40 countries, architecture, planning, design, and so on. Other countries that we done work, they followed our advice, they implemented them, and keep on improving them. In the Philippines, I was the master planner for Ayala Labang, principal architect, urban planner for Rockwell, and several other projects. And many of the golf course communities, I work with golf architects and so on. And we're still very busy. And we have offices in Makati, Cebu, Davao, and Clark, and we might reopen our office in Dubai. Now that you mentioned Dubai, I was invited and name hired in 1977. After I completed my work in Metro Plan Manila, Manila Bay Region Strategic Plan, I reported to work in Dubai, and the rule of Dubai instructed us, bring Dubai to the first world in 15 years. And they were able to do it. So 2050 is 25 years from now. In fact, at Palafox, we're doing now is Vision 2050, well into the 22nd century, 2100. And if I may share, Asian Development Bank hired me to help in the preparation of the Philippine Development Plan, 2023 to 2028. And I noticed our development planning our country is electoral calendar, 3 years and 6 years. Elsewhere in the world, immediate action program, short-term, medium-term, long-term, and visionary. Since nobody's doing towards 2050, 2100, it's like our patriotic architecture. We're doing it ourselves. Thank you, sir.
Sir, when you look at it, we're showing a lot of the footage here, a lot of the presentations when it comes to the prospect of the Philippines, especially in 2050. The thing that caught my eye there in particular is the 100 new cities that are livable, resilient, of course, adaptive to the environment. And it's interesting that environment's a big part of this approach. Palafox is known for being a group that really champions the environment as well. There's a famous story of you actually returning the architect's fee when asked to take down 366 trees in the process in Subic. Sir, when you look at 100 new cities, is it possible to still be able to care for the environment in the Philippines and reach that goal of putting up a new livable cities by 2050 to reach those lofty ambitions that we mentioned a while ago?
Sir, we have no choice. By 2050, 150 million Filipinos. And Metro Manila is so congested. So these 100 new cities should be outside Metro Manila. And our country has so much development potential. We know the challenges, we also know the solutions. We are, if you rotate the map of the world, we are right in the center. It's no wonder for more than 370 years, we are the Asia Pacific hub of Spanish Europe. For 50 years, the Americans, 2 years, the British, 4 years, the Japanese. So it's already given that every superpower country will be interested in our beautiful islands. The Philippines, 400 times the size of Singapore, 350 times the size of Hong Kong, 8 times the size of Taiwan, 3 times the size of South Korea. We have so much to high development potential. We only have 7 challenges, and we know the problem, we know problems, we know the solution. We have more strengths. We do a SWOT analysis of our country, strength, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. We have more strengths and opportunities.
We have more strengths and opportunities than all of the weakness and threats. Yes, I have read that analysis as well. Sir, you look also at the fact that you believe that there is a change in trends when it comes to architecture, planning, and all of the above. It's not just about location anymore. It's also about the accessibility. And you're also a staunch advocate of ease of travel and coming up with solutions for making sure that different cities are connected as well. How big of a part is that for the future of the Philippines if we want to move into the top 16th in the world in terms of economy by 2050?
Yes, sir. My assignment by Asian Development Bank in the Philippine Development Plan, seamless connectivity. So I shared a conversation. We have more than 20 kinds of infrastructure. We have less than 10. We have 32 modes of urban transportation. We also have less than 10. My dream since I was a student, interconnect all Philippines with bridges, tunnels, railways, and so on. And I present that even in New York, and more recently in Northeast Asia, Mongolia. And even the connection between Bataan and Cavite, I proposed that many, many years ago. The one from Guimaras, Iloilo Negros, I proposed that many years ago, interconnecting the whole Philippines. In fact, when I presented this in New York, 2006, the maker of the fastest train that time, Maglev of Germany, came to see me in my office. And he said, if you get the Maglev train from Lawag to Davao, less than 3 hours. It's shorter than waiting for delayed flights.
That would be a dream, sir. Ilocos to Davao in 3 hours via train without having to wait for a plane. But of course, when we talk about all of the transportation, we also talk about resilience here in the Philippines when it comes to architecture and of structures in general. Considering the effects of climate change that we have been experiencing, we've seen the thrust from the government as well for more climate resilient structures. When you hear the term resilient and when you hear the term being able to adapt to climate change and sustainability at the same time, how does that look like today in Philippine architecture, and how can you see that evolving knowing that there's so many changes?
Yes, sir. I wrote a book, Towards Resilient Cities Communities in the Philippines. I got the Best Author Award. It's all sold out. It's 90% less expensive to address the hazards before they become disasters, aside from saving human lives, buildings, infrastructure, agriculture. The past 4 presidents, including the present one, I've written them 145 recommendations to address the hazards before they become disasters. And what's happening in our country? We don't address the hazards. Then a state of calamity when we already have the disaster. So many people have died already. And I asked that question. I said, the answer to me was Palafox, you were not born yesterday. A state of calamity, no more bidding, of contractors, consultants, suppliers. People make more money, corruption money, in the state of calamity. And I've been sharing also the rulers of Dubai, leaders of Singapore, they have visionary leadership with strong political will, good appreciation of good urban planning, good design like architecture and engineering, and excellent management. That's the formula of successful cities and countries elsewhere in the world.
So, Jun, you mentioned obviously the leadership being a big factor when it comes to the development and making sure that everything goes on smoothly. Of course, you also mentioned the electoral cycles, making it a bit difficult for something
3
more
years,
sustained.
6 years. Yeah.
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 And
Yes,
sir,
sir.
so at the same time, the government, this administration in particular, has also tried to adapt to technology, especially with their push for renewable energy when it comes to the production. Is that something to also consider, the sources of energy that the cities are now starting to use, especially with the energy mix starting to lean more towards renewable energy, at least plan to as the years go by?
Yes, sir. In fact, in all our projects, like we're doing, I think more than 10 university buildings nationwide, aside from hospitals, shopping malls, office, even if the client says they don't have any budget for green architecture in buildings, we still put it in our designs. And I tell them this can be retrofitable in the future, even if it's not part of our scope of work. And then we walk the talk on the environment. You mentioned about giving up $1 million to save 366 70-year-old trees for a 6-star hotel. You can see here in the cross-section of roads, our roads will be 1/3 for trees and landscaping, because it takes at least 10 trees to recover the oxygen out of the carbon monoxide per car. 1/3 for trees and landscaping, 1/3 for pedestrians and bicycles, 1/3 a moving traffic lane. Whether our designs follow to that, on record we recommend it. Like EDSA, probably the worst in the world. Ideally, EDSA, if it has 500,000 vehicles per day, EDSA should have 5 million trees. If there's no more right-of-way, maybe all the houses and buildings along EDSA, they can plant trees within their properties or on top with sky gardens, roof gardens. It's doable. If we don't have to reinvent the wheel, best practices are learned elsewhere in the world, and we've done them elsewhere in the world. Look at Dubai. It's more landscaping than Metro Manila. When I reported Dubai in 1977, Metro Manila infrastructure was probably 100 years ahead of Dubai. Dubai probably is 100 years ahead of Metro Manila now in urban development and infrastructure, because they have visionary leadership with strong political will. And they implement their plans. They even keep improving on them. Like the subway.
Yes.
It was proposed in 1974. In Metro Manila, which I was team leader for the World Bank funded project, we should have completed 8 lines by 1992. 1984, we had one of the best LRTs in Asia. And then the American Corps of Engineers, 1946, they put forward Major Thoroughfares plan. 6 circumferential roads and 10 radial roads. Until now, radial road number 4 is not yet existing. That's along Pasig River. And I have proposed 10 circumferential roads so that Calabarzon and Central Luzon can bypass Metro Manila. Number 10 is now the bridge being constructed between Bataan and Cavite.
Yeah.
I even proposed a buoy there.
Yes. Architect, we hate to cut you off at that point, but please don't go away because we're going to take a quick break. Industry Beacon will be right back. Stay with us. You're watching BNC.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Welcome back. You're still watching Industry Beacon here on BNC. Still with us is architect Jun Palafox, who, to be quite honest, sir, we're talking about so much, and I personally am learning a lot, especially with all of the things that you're telling us about the accessibility and just being resilient in the future here for the Philippines. You, sir, are one of the more optimistic people I've met and talked to when it comes to urban planning in the country, especially when you talk about building outside of Metro Manila. But I want to focus on one particular project that you did in Metro Manila, or at least the idea of it, which has been sketches along Pasig River when it comes to turning the waterfront properties into something more forward-looking and more environmentally friendly, especially with all of the efforts done on Pasig River to try and revitalize it. Why do you think that turning the waterfront properties in front of Pasig will actually benefit the river itself and, of course, the environment around it?
Yeah. Waterfront is prime real estate. Like in Dubai, they only have 70 kilometers of waterfront, all sold out as prime real estate. So they excavated the desert to have more waterfront, the largest man-made harbor in the world, and the Palm Islands waterfront. Example is Rockwell. We master planned that Rockwell, and I'm architect of the first 5 towers. The front door of Rockwell is Pasig River, not Bel Air. It's front door. And we have proposed bicycle highways, pedestrian highways along Laguna Lakefront, Pasig River, 27 kilometers, and 190 kilometers of Manila Bayfront. We have drawings to that. We probably submitted to the government more than 3,500 drawings for Pasig River with ferry boats and so on. But it seems to be suffering from analysis paralysis. Many of our recommendations, they suffer from analysis paralysis in our part of the world. But private sector, they implement.
Sir, when we talk a lot about accessibility, particularly with the lack of the completion of the circumferential roads, as we referred to a while ago, for those wondering, is there any hope for an actual solution dito sa Metro Manila specifically when it comes to accessibility and mobility and improving that, considering the volume of people present in Metro Manila currently?
Yes, sir. You mentioned about it's no longer just location. It's accessibility, mobility, connectivity. Like Makati, where we are, the local government approved increasing the density in the central business district by 4 times. But the access capacity, parking capacity, public transit capacity did not increase 4 times. And I used to be chief architect, urban planner of the Ayala Group. And Metroplan Manila, we had addressed this in 1976 yet with Metroplan Manila. So we really have to, planning is balanced. Our development in the whole country is imbalanced. It's the primacy of Metro Manila. A primate city is 10 times larger than the second largest city. And even when I was working on Metro Plan, I helped other directors of project, the National Framework Plan, Integrated Area Development for the Bicol River Basin, etc. And all these planning initiatives were put forward in the mid-70s. And until now, they are not being implemented. Like dredging of Laguna Lake. Tagal na yan. Parañaque Spillway. Ang tagal na yan. So I said even with President Gloria after Ondoy, if you don't do these proposals, we'll still have worse flooding. And one reason for that, the way we plan projects, even outside the boundary, we start from ridge to reef. From the top of the mountain, the highlands, midlands, lowlands, and the coastline, even outside the boundaries. Like the Aerotropolis, Airport City Project.
Yes.
We did for San Miguel Corporation. We look at all the rivers from the mountains, beyond the scope of, beyond the boundary. Clark Master Plan, we also work on that. We look at the whole of Pampanga.
Yes.
Not 4,000 hectares of Proctor Port, but also the airport. And I've been saying also, to be globally competitive, by 2050, we need at least 400 international standard airports and 400 seaports to be globally competitive. And yet, like the budget for transportation, it was reduced by more than 16 billion. How can we have seamless connectivity? Even the budget proposed was reduced by 16 billion. So that's Clark. It will have 3 runways and 80 million target capacity. The San Miguel Corporation's New Manila International Airport will have 4 runways, 120 million. And one of my term papers in Harvard was Manila Bay Region Megalopolis. Central Luzon, Metro Manila, Calabarzon. It will have 60 million population. So ideally, even in this Manila Bay region, we need ideally 6 international airports for 60 million people. So we have a lot to do, and I think we have the resources. Just reduce the 6 challenges that I mentioned to you. We know the solution. Corruption towards good governance.
Yeah.
Criminality, better peace and order. Climate change, enhancing, protecting the environment. Inequality, 30 million Filipinos very poor. Job creation, poverty alleviation. Infrastructure, we're probably 50 years behind planning initiatives in the past. Then investments. It's so difficult for people to invest here. We are over-regulated. We should open up our economy. And in fact, I was the speaker last Thursday in the Philippine-German Chamber of Commerce. And one German investor in renewables, he said, we don't need incentives, just reduce the red tape.
So that's going to be one of the issues, especially when it comes to the legislative to deal with, addressing all of the problems, the 6 problems that you mentioned. Architect Jun, we're running out of time, but really quickly before we go, you mentioned 100 new cities probably needed by 2050. For those wondering how that would look like, could you give us a brief description of your idea of what those ideal smart cities would be should they be made?
Yeah, we're having several cities now and municipalities. I always propose polycentric, many centers. Our country should be polycentric, not just Metro Manila centric. Even our cities, many centers, and 5-minute neighborhoods, walking, biking, and public transit, 10 minutes communities, and 15-minute cities. Like Rockwell, a 5-minute neighborhood. From your doorstep, anything you need, shopping, dining, working, and so on, it's within 5-minute walking. Then 10-minute walking, cycling, and public transit, and 15-minute cities. It's doable. In fact, all our 3 books have been sold out. We'll be writing books again. We call them postcards from the future. We take pictures of the uglification of our cities, and we create architectural urban design perspectives, how they should look like. Hopefully somebody in the future will implement them. When I was in Dubai, I called them snapshots of the future because I knew they will be implemented. And I think we'd like to live in environment-friendly, smarter cities, communities, and buildings. Smart, livable, resilient, walkable, with public transit, mixed-income neighborhoods, integrating places to live, work, shop, dine, learn, and worship with healthcare and wellness centers, with 24-hour cycle activity centers. That's everything we do that. With environment and planet Earth. Everything we do at Palafox, Pro Deo, at Terra, for God, country, and planet Earth. And the guidelines we have, social equity or people first, jobs and poverty alleviation. Then planet Earth and the environment. Then we can talk about prosperity, economic goals, and profits, without forgetting culture, history, and heritage, interpret spirituality, and visionary. We need the vision. Hopefully, political will come on.
He is the principal architect and urban planner at Palafox Associates, Architect Jun Palafox. Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing all your insights.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for, again, allowing me to share.
And that is it for today's show. I'm Paolo del Rosario. Catch the Billionaire News Channel on Free TV Channel 31 and on cable via Cignal Channel 24. Thank you very much for joining us here on Industry Beacon, the Billionaire News Channel, always on top.